Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend.
Hey everybody, it is Friday, November 21st, and it is 6 p.m. This is our Friday night live show. And I am here mostly today to answer all of your questions. We've had like the craziest week ever. We did an event, I think it was Tuesday afternoon with several retired fire and police officers in Georgia. And then we did like another 100-something retirees, 120 retirees last night in the villages. So Bob and I have been quite busy in trying to help everyone understand where we are with the healthcare plan for both the NYC EPPO plan and as well as what's going on with the Medicare eligible retirees, where our court cases stand and what's happening there. So first, most important, I'm going to keep repeating myself every week. You guys need to make sure you are putting aside all of your copays from January 1st of 2022 to January 12th of 2023. That copay case, I guess, is kind of chugging along, and you need to be able to get those copay receipts. Carol Lucchese, if you don't hear me, turn up your volume because everybody else does. So you need to start looking for those receipts and making sure that you have everything put together. If you don't have receipts, you need to be able to look for canceled checks or potentially medical records that might show payment. Don't worry, because when we finally do nail down this deal, you will be getting a document from Emblem that will tell you all of your senior care visits from that period of time, and that will also help you secure those. Mike, so it's unfair to have the transfer period end on November 30th when Judge Frank. I completely understand with you, Mike, and I'm going to tell you there's even more issues with this that we unveiled last night. So this becomes a concern because we know that there are people that are going to struggle making this decision and not have the information that they need to be able to do that. And this is part of one of those issues, that they don't know if their doctors are in the plan or their doctors are not in the plan, or they're part of the drug plan because their union doesn't, or former union doesn't offer them a drug plan. And then now they have to figure out, are they taking this? And so, we've been at war for this last week with OLR, who absolutely refuses to answer the questions that we posed to them. They're not responding in any way. So we're very frustrated by that. Our attorneys are involved in that. And there's at this point, there's just not much we could say about it. There's not much I can offer you in terms of how to fix that, other than I could tell you next week is a short week, and next week is a short week, and I can't tell you what we're going to do if we're going to get an answer. So all I can tell you is we're trying to get answers, but I can't tell you that we're going to get them. But it is recognized that there's definitely a problem. Okay, so Diane, coming in very low despite my Diane, I would tell you go out and come back in, because I'm showing I'm actually not only in the green, I'm in the yellow, which means I'm pushing being too loud. And I've never known me to be quiet. So you might want to go out and come back in. NYU Langone will actually let patients via its portal generate an Excel spreadsheet with copay totals. Oh, that's really fantastic. Thanks for that, Ellen. UFT Speaker Adams blocking illegal para bill. They deserve a pensionable raise. But now they know how New York City Medicare retirees feel at 1096. Oh, I know. I know. What was that? What was that girl's name? This was so funny. I don't even want to call her what I'm thinking. Give me 1 second. Emily. So Emily from UFT is like all angry on Instagram and I guess TikTok or whatever. And she's all Emily James is all UFT or all upset that the speaker is blocking a bill. Like, hello, Lucy, have you been paying attention? This doesn't happen to just your bill. It's happening to our bill. It'll happen to any bill. And what's going to come out about this practice is what like Chris Marte has been saying for a long time. The speaker only lets go to the floor what she wants to go to the floor. Doesn't make her any less special, any more special, or any less important. It's just this is what the speaker does. So sorry, Emily, here's your tissues, but we've been fighting this a hell of a lot longer than you have for something that you at one point tried to screw us with and don't realize that you should be actually supporting both legislations to protect Medicare retirees, Medicare benefits that they earned, and Medicare from being privatized, and rolling back these predatory copays that's killing people on senior care, and of course, supporting the paras. But I think you should want to get behind supporting the paras in the proper way and giving them a pensionable wage so they don't become slaves to the DOE. That might be better. And I can tell you the paras would probably appreciate that even more. Or what maybe you could do is maybe advocate for your union leader to at the next contract to encourage the teachers to take a slightly lower increase in their pay, or he could work to give that money to the paras, or he could probably negotiate even more money in his contract to make sure that paras get paid the proper wage that he should have negotiated in the first place. Like in the last contract, he had like $400 million he could have done something with, but that's a whole other conversation. But yes, thank you, username, for putting in your 2 cents about that. That whole mess is that whole thing is just a mess. Let's see. I hate to ask, but did I understand that diabetes meds are being denied? So, Mary Ellen, I don't know where this is coming from. You are the second person to have said this. I am not seeing diabetes meds being denied, and I also don't know if you're talking about pre-Medicare or Medicare. On the Medicare side, you do have a $2,000, $2,100 maximum out of pocket due to the Inflation Reduction Act. If you would drop me more information on here on what you're actually talking about, and note too, if you have emailed me, I have not looked at my emails in a couple of days. I've just been way too busy, but I will get to everything over the weekend. But if you would, please drop either in the chat or in an email to the org, retirees at NYC Retirees, and tell me what you're talking about, because I don't know what that is. And this is the second time I'm hearing about diabetes medications. They cannot end diabetes medications. That is part of a mandate. So let me know where you're getting this from. Mike, I asked Emblem for the actual certificate of insurance for the NYC EPPO and DC37 med team so I can compare them. They replied that they will not make the certificate of insurance available to anyone not already enrolled in the plan. Gee, this sounds like an MA all over again. That's interesting. Okay, so I would tell you probably come January 1st, which I know that's not going to make anybody happy, that you're already going to be in the plan and not have that answer before November 1st. But I will tell you that that will probably end up working against them if the people that have filed the litigation against this plan finds out about that. that could potentially be an issue that can be used to slow the plan down strictly because they didn't give people the information that they needed in a timely manner. Unfortunately, that didn't happen first. That's happening now, but we could see what we could do about that. Well, actually, you should be contacting those people if that would actually help. Let's see. Chris Marte did a mic drop at the RA meeting when a Unity member asked how the city council could afford Medicare, and he wiped the floor with that lid. Yes, I believe that was Ms. Nina Tribble. I am so defied. This defies logic, okay? How do you have a woman who served her entire life to the city of New York wanting to defend the city of New York, that the city of New York doesn't have money to pay for something that it promised retirees of people of who she is one on Medicare? This is the same woman that testified before city council that she needs her Medicare, her senior care. She was a new senior. She was a new Medicare retiree and needs her senior care. And this was the same woman that was willing to pay for it. Trying to explain to her that there are people both in her union, like retiree Margaret Bianculli, who you saw the video that we did the other day, where she is in medical debt because of the decisions that largely were implemented due to the pressure from the United Federation of Teachers Leadership. So when all of these unity hawks keep pushing, well, the city doesn't have enough money to pay for the promises that we made. Okay, we'll just all get screwed by you. Guess what? The city has money. And what she should be advocating for is that the city should find a way to make the money, find the money to keep the promise to any civil servant that earned and paid for it. That should be the right answer. So yes, someone actually sent me that clip. I was very happy to see that the councilman handled that RA meeting wonderfully. And eventually maybe these people will wisen up and stop making these stupid excuses to lobby against their own people and healthcare. It defies logic that these are actually educators, and that's really scary. You can get your copays off Emblem. So Sherry, yes, you can, but they only go back 2 years. So 2022 is more than 2 years ago. You're going to have a problem if you didn't download them in the past. And remember, the copays are from January 1 of 2022 to January 12th of 2023. Hey, Roberta, still alive in spite of all the healthcare issues. Good. Keep collecting many pension checks. It came from Arthur Goldstein. So I looked at the thing that you sent me, and I didn't see a specific medication that was not being covered. So if it was not being covered, or he mentioned something not being covered, maybe it was because it was a name brand and they had to change to a generic. But I'll need more details on that. And remember, I had posted a comment that Emblem was changing over their drug testing kit strips and their little machines that they would, and in January, end up giving you a new machine because they had to change the test strip company. My insulin pump now needs pre-authorization. And that, I'm going to tell you, this is what they negotiated. And it is, if that was the other thing that bothered me, is that the United Federation, I'm told that the United Federation of Teachers Leadership a couple days ago, whatever it was, made a comment that they don't negotiate the drug plan. They sure as hell do the formulary. Drug formulary is a mandatory subject to bargaining. They control what that formulary looks like. And if you don't think they leverage it, well, I got a bridge to sell you. Absolutely. No, I am not saying that. He says, are you saying we do not have to search for copay bills and payments? I am telling you, you do have to search for them. You have to look for that specific time period of January 1 of 2022 to January 12th of 2023. You need to look for your receipts. We've been telling you for years that you needed to hold on to those. Now we're getting closer down to the wire where it's going to be a finalized plan where we have to implement collecting those receipts to get your reimbursement. Remember, the city overcharged us by $53 million. You need to start getting those receipts. If you did not listen to us for all of these last 3 years, that you needed to set them aside. As we are moving closer to that, this is going to happen. Emblem will eventually give you a list of the visits that you had that would have potentially had copays. You still have to provide the proof you paid them. Heard about a new lawsuit filed by Anthem. Yes, that is true. So they filed the lawsuit, I think it was on the 19th, I think. So that is now the second lawsuit against the NYCE PPO plan. AFSCME had the nerve to email how terrible that healthcare costs. Camille, I saw that as well. And then I think one of the guys on the page posted that they were getting emails. And I said, well, that's really interesting when you, or mail, snail mail, just return to sender. Tell them to kiss your ass because they're not protecting your current healthcare right now. Mulgrew doesn't think teachers should take a lower raise to give paras, but he has no problem taking retiree health care and putting in copay tax to give actives a raise. Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because retirees, and I know there's going to be people screaming at this comment again, but retirees are not in the union. You are not in the union. You are allowed to vote, a small partial vote for a number of people, 23,000 votes out of whatever you have, 89,000 retirees. That doesn't make you a union member. That gives you a union privilege. And he only does that because he needs you attached to the union to fund the union and cope. Your dollars help enrich the union and fulfill its missions. So he has to give you something in order to take your money. But he does not collectively bargain for you. So he could sell off something that a retiree has to enrich an active worker, because the theory was active workers are obviously day to day. They know what's going on. They can vote out the union president and they ratify contracts, and their vote is a full 100% vote, unlike the retiree. And you always heard the comment that there was a period of time when there were union leaders who believed in selling out the unborn so that they would reduce benefits to those coming onto the job. They weren't in the union either because they weren't hired yet. Well, guess what? Today, those people are in the union, and they're pissed off that their benefits suck, or their pension sucks, or their whatever sucks, because their benefits were diminished before they got there. They thought they would have what they knew everyone else on the job to have. So they're upset about that, and rightfully so. When you sell off the unborn, they're not on the job yet. They're not in the union. They can't complain because they're not in the union. After that wasn't working out, they decided to sell off a retiree who's not in the union, who doesn't vote on contracts, and most unions, unlike the UFT, don't vote on for their officers. So this creates a problem that's come back and bite them in the tuchus. That's why they do it. It was easier because they're not in the union, and they didn't think there'd be the uprising that there was. De Blasio created the retiree healthcare mess. Now yes, I am aware, David. We're watching. Did something new happen this week? I've been out of the loop. Nope, nothing new happened this week. This should be an issue that Mamdani should make priority on his agenda. And I agree with you. New York City Medicare retiree healthcare money is already in the budget. Yes, it is, because the law says the city will pay the full cost of health coverage. The law says it. So it must be funded because there is a law in place that requires it, and it's been funded since 1967. Did you see the set of emails in support of that nice PPO that OLR submitted to the court? in the hands-off care case. 2 of the emails mentioned and attacked you and the organization. No, I haven't. Actually, I've been too busy, but that's okay. I'll go and look. If you had them handy, email them to me. I will go look later. I'll go look later. Carol Lucchese, I'm not UFT, so what is this? Carol, Serena Mia, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm in and out of hospitals the last 2 months, and now they're hitting me with copays, $15 plus whatever Emblem doesn't pay. Yes, because if you are on senior care, you're supposed to be paying copays. This issue, the judge stopped them in 22 because they were illegally charged. They then changed the contract, making them legally charged, and the unions let them do that in 2025. Retired NYCD here. Our union gives us the Humana prescription plan. Up to 2 months ago, I was paying $189 for my A1C medication for years. Last month, I was so pleased to see the copay for my meds is now $0. I believe I should thank Trump for that. He had a powwow with pharmaceutical companies. I no longer have to choose between. That has nothing to do with Washington, my dear. That has to do with the plan that you are on, probably being a Humana managed care prescription plan like an Aetna SilverScript. Your Humana is probably similar. And you would also still, under the Inflation Reduction Act, have a $2,100 maximum out-of-pocket for your drugs. Can't chat on Facebook, had to switch over to YouTube, which is now on a delay. I honestly don't know, Dan. I don't see a delay on my side. Any word from Mamdani regarding keeping Medicare and not being forced into MA? Posted an article today. No. So, Gerald, you're looking at an old article from 24. The main issues of our organization are not just Medicare Advantage. They're Medicare Advantage. They're the predatory copays that were assessed to you by active unions and the mayor to finance the active workers. That's another issue. That's putting people in medical debt if you haven't kept up to speed with what we've been talking about for the last several months. It's not just MA. You guys have got to get your heads out of this one issue focus that it's not just Medicare Advantage. While Mamdani might not force you into Medicare Advantage, he can sure as hell keep raising your costs every time the MLC keeps coming back that they need more money for their collective bargaining. So stop just focusing on MA. It's not just about MA. 1096 says that the city can't diminish your health care benefits or put you in a Medicare Advantage plan, and that you have to be in a supplement in the likeness of what was in effect on December 31st of 2021, the day before they hit you with the copays that are sacking you with costs for about $60 a visit every time you go. So, Gerald, please stop saying just MA. And you're also using the talking point that some of those other nutcasers are using, that he's a socialist and not going to force you into Medicare Advantage. It's not just about Medicare Advantage. You also have to remember that people who are on a fixed income, your COLA last year was $324. What were your copays, Gerald? So this gets me so frustrated to keep seeing this, that people will keep throwing up an article where a reporter asked him a question in November or December of 2024 that he likes the spirit of the 1096, but it wouldn't be needed under him. Well, what happens if he gets hit by a bus? What happens if someone pressures him like Henry Garrido or Michael Mulgrew or Bill de Blasio or Dean Foulihan, who were all on his committee, who were the orchestrators of Medicare Advantage and the copays? Then you have another problem. I'm glad he likes the spirit of it, but the spirit isn't going to protect you. You have to get this bill passed, both in the city and the state, because this isn't just happening in the city, it's also happening on the state level. This is creating an issue for everyone. When you're on a fixed income and your COLA is $324 for the year, but your copays are almost $4,000, what are you going to do? You're not being able to survive because your expenses are now well surpassing any incremental change in your pension. So please remember, even the reporter, Joe Maniscalco, is frustrated with the Mamdani camp because he will not commit to supporting retirees, doesn't want to talk about it, isn't returning communications on it either. And while he'll agree to the spirit, he's not acknowledging the organization's call that this is putting people in an affordability crisis right now. And he needs to address that, especially if he wants to keep talking about affordability and medical crises and healthcare like everybody else is, as well as the other Democrats that are trying to run for re-election. So I'm getting off my soapbox on that because what do we call this plan? If I'm asked by a doctor, what's the name of the new plan? Do I say nice PPO? Or since I'm outside the downstate 13, do I say my insurance is United Healthcare? So you will, they're probably not going to know, again, the name, the NYCE PPO plan. You have to ask them if they are in the United Healthcare Choice Plus network. You can go on the NYCE PPO plan. It'll actually tell you what to say. I encourage you to do that. Let me see if I can grab that link and put that in the chat. And if you're not finding your doctor, what I want you to do is, after looking it up, what I want you to do is make sure you're spelling the doctor's name correctly. On this page that I'm dropping in the chat right now, you can also refer your physician, register them to be in the network, and the plan will contact that provider as well as contact you. He told her he checked the budget. It's good to cover our Medicare. Another Unity idiot tried to scare seniors by telling Chris he would set a precedent for city council to attack our pensions. Chris wiped that too. Yes, that other idiot was Dennis Galt. I heard that. Yes. So he's not setting a precedent. And Chris Marte was 100% correct when he said the city council has legislated 12-126, has modified 12-126 dozens of times until 2001. From 1967 to 2001, multiple times, even with the support of then Speaker Peter Vallone. So they don't know their history. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'm so glad that you got a chance to hear that. I was very excited when I heard that too. Does anyone know how to drop COPE? So Deborah, if you are UFT and you are trying to drop your COPE, it was actually on the UFT website. So let me see if I can quickly pull that up for you. Here we go. All right. I'm dropping that in the chat now too, Deborah. Tells you how to do it. It'll take 1 to 2 cycles. If you're still having trouble with it, email the organization and say you need help getting out of COPE. If you're past the 2 months and you're not out, let us know. We would be very happy to help you with that. For folks who are not yet Medicare eligible, they will be on the new ASO plan. This should be scary because if UFT and DC 37 bankrupted the trust for raises, they can do more damage because with ASO, there's fewer guardrails. And that's what we understand as well. That's why we were talking yesterday, about all of these issues. So I want to talk about that. Let me just quickly scroll through the rest of these questions. I understand Zohran Mamdani is pushing for Councilmember Hudson for the next city council speaker. She's a lawmaker who's chair of the aging, who has fully ignored us for the past 2 years. So yes, I'm fully aware of that, Laura, but I was not aware that Zohran came out in support of Crystal Hudson. Can you tell me where you saw that? I told you I would call CWA and get back to you in regards to the union, partially in reimbursing my drug plan if I went to a different plan. The answer was, if it is not coming out of my pension check, they will not reimburse. Also, I called OLR and they told me if I get an outside prescription plan with Emblem, I cannot purchase the 365 rider. So Merrill, can you do me a favor, please, and send that information to an email in an email to the organization. That is part of the fight we are currently having with the city of New York right now, which means that then the UFT created a plan, where they could split the drug plan all on their own for themselves, is what that appears to be. So please send that information to me in an email, and direct it to Marianne and Bob. Thanks. Perhaps we should have a retirees' bill of rights. I kind of agree with you. I am getting a message that Deborah, you also wanted to, how to cancel your COPE information. I am being told you also need to email Yasmin Cologne at ycologne@uft.org, O-R-G, to cancel COPE. Her name is Yasmin Cologne. Email your request as well. I know that website says that you need to also do it in writing, so maybe do it both and maybe it'll get done quicker. Who knows? But the 2025 copays are a different lawsuit to file. Serena Mia, right now, there is no basis to file a copay lawsuit on the 2025 ones. That's why we need to do legislation. Marianne, I emailed the organization last Saturday with questions regarding Express Scripts versus Prime Therapeutics drug plan through the union. Express Scripts states my plan ends January 1. Okay, so if you are purchasing your drug plan through the city of New York, we are being told by Emblem that Prime Therapeutics will be the new pharmacy benefit manager. The pharmacy benefit manager is like the middleman. They're the ones that negotiate the drug prices. You can get your medications through through Prime, Amazon delivery. That'll all be spelled out coming soon. But I'm also told that they have a deal that you can continue with Express Scripts. What's ending is that Express Scripts is currently your PBM. Now they're moving from Express Scripts being the middle manager to Prime being the middle manager. But you should still be able to use Express Scripts. They have not yet put that information out, but we were told that. So stay tuned. I'm sorry, but this is how they choose to do shit half-assed. You know we like to get information out there. I will work on getting this. I'm going to try on Monday to get something to put in writing for everyone on this issue. I am so confused with how to change Part D prescription drug plan. It seems lots are going to WellCare. So, Barry, here's the issue with this. And this is part of the fight we have with OLR. Renee Campion and Claire Levitt are absolutely useless. I don't believe they should be in their jobs, and they're not responsive to you. They're not responsive to us. They're not answering questions, and they don't even know how to define the word optional rider is. That an optional rider should be an option. What they're telling us is that if you waive the optional rider, you choose not, you are the retiree. In this situation, let's take it in two separate situations. You are a retiree, Medicare eligible, that has to purchase the drug plan from the city of New York because your union doesn't provide you one. You have no dependents. If you choose to waive your optional rider and purchase a drug on the marketplace, you can. Medicare Part D plan. Now, let's say you are a retiree who has a drug plan with the optional rider, and you have a dependent who also needs the optional rider. You're both Medicare eligible. If the dependent chooses to get off the optional rider, OLR is telling us, you can't do that. OLR says if you, the retiree, are on the drug rider, your dependent must be on the drug rider as well. I said, well, that's bullshit because that doesn't make it optional. That makes it mandatory. And if the member is staying on, who gives a damn what the dependent does? The dependent should have the freedom to purchase the drug plan on the marketplace. Why? Because now the drug plan is going from $150 a month to $180 a month, where they can get a drug plan on the marketplace either for free or $20 or $30 or $40 or $50 a month, which is not $180. OLR says, I need a legal opinion. Okay, that was like Tuesday. So we're still waiting. So Barry, the lawyers are involved in this once again because OLR just likes to keep picking fights and doesn't know answers to their own questions or how to even run healthcare in the city of New York. So all I can tell you is hang tight, and I'm sorry I have to keep saying that, and I know it sucks, but you hear that I'm frustrated with it as well, but I don't have an answer for you, but we're on top of it. That's the best that I can give you at this point. Unfortunately, prior clueless unborn don't blame the union. They blame retirees who they think voted for the changes instead of the unions that agreed to those reductions. I agree with you. They're blaming us when we didn't vote for that. And unfortunately, many of them didn't even put that in the contract or put it in the contract in the way that they knew. And if they were smart, that they would realize that their unions are doing the same thing to them by giving them summaries and not the full contract to review, while still telling them, don't worry, you don't need to see the contract. The MLC does. Or don't worry, it's an exhibit that we don't have, but just ratify this. And they're doing it to them as well. It just never seems to end. The expense for the New York City municipal retirees is not only earmarked in the law, but is a minimal expense in the city budget. Mulgrew and Garrido have pushed the lie that we are a threat to in-service members and we are the financial burden. You're correct. Mamdani is stressing affordability for New Yorkers. That is now the retirees theme. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Older people have more medical visits and more copays than younger people. It is an age discrimination charging copays. We tried that angle, William. It's not yet something we can attach to. After 3 weeks of back and forth, I got the evidence of coverage and the book listing the Medicare pharmacies, but no formulary listing. Supposedly no deductible for the drug stages. So Elizabeth, again, if you want to make an issue about that, you need to contact the other people that are suing the city over that other organization that filed the lawsuit, and see if maybe they can help you with that. That would be the best place to go with that. Barry, you should search for Medicare Part D plans on the Medicare site. Then you can call the welfare fund for directions on how to drop the plan and keep the 365 optional rider. So if you go to Medicare Part D, and I think I filmed a video on this last week, but I probably didn't put it up, on how to search for a drug plan. I will look to finalize that video this week to show you how to do that if you don't know. You want to look for a Medicare Part D, as in David, standalone drug plan only. Make sure you're not doing Medicare Advantage. Make sure you're not looking for anything else. You're just looking for a Medicare Part D, Dave, as in drug, Medicare Part D plan. That's a standalone plan. In yesterday's UFT RTC chapter, a gentleman who lives in the Community Board District 6, Park Slope. I lost track of him. If he's online, I hope he replies. Okay, so Marsha is looking for someone she spoke to at the RTC meeting yesterday from Community Board District 6 in Brooklyn. No, I paid throughout his 4 years. This is only in the last 2 months. Then they renegotiated their plan, or they made some kind of a change. It's time to push for donations. Be thankful this is Thanksgiving that our group does all this for us. Thank you, Inez. I'll probably be putting out a fundraiser for Giving Tuesday on Tuesday. Affordability is $210.96. That's great. I'll see if I use that. You have until Wednesday to file with OLR. Yeah, because then they go away for the holiday and they're not going to give a shit. Okay, let's see. If the person who offered to help me get the issue before Brooklyn Community Board 6 is here, please reply to me. I lost track of it. Do you know his name, Marcia? If you do, we could probably look him up. Why does admin code 12-126 cover these decisions made in the 60s? Why doesn't admin code? What decisions? Why doesn't admin code 12-126 cover these decisions? Because the law literally just says that the city will pay the full cost of health coverage up to the HIP HMO for every employee, retiree, and their dependent, and reimburse Medicare B premiums. You right now, Medicare people, Medicare retirees, are the only people paying premium and then having to wait 16 to 22 months to get that premium back. No one else pays premium. You do, which is why we're also fighting to get that premium back sooner than the 16 to 22 months we're currently getting it. Everyone else doesn't have that. Yeah, my comments aren't going through on Facebook either. I don't know why that is. Let me try that again. Something must be up with the Facebook page that it's not letting comments go through on Facebook. I don't know. It's Facebook. We always have trouble with Facebook. I hate to think negatively, but affordability seems to be a concern for younger people. I wonder if readying the iceberg to float us elders out to sea. I don't want to think about that, Roberta. I don't think that. Just jumping in to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, as how so many, because of you, will have a happy thing. Thank you, Marie. You have a happy Thanksgiving too. What is COPE? So COPE is a political action money. If you're DC 37, they'll call it people's money. If you're paying a political action to your former union, if you're retired, you should be ending that because they're using that money against you. They are literally lobbying against our legislation in the city and the state. Mike, concerns regarding being an ASO. If you are DC 37, you might want to consider Med Team, which is not an ASO. So DC 37's Med Team is going to be the same thing as the NYC EPPO plan. Support New York City Retirees Health Plan, New York City Council. You are out of sync with us. Congressional Democrats get together. Good luck on that one. Mogul claims our COPE money is needed to support Jamaica. Not falling for his BS. No, I literally did a video showing you that the UFT is spending your COPE money against our legislation in the city and the state. We looked up their filings. When an organization lobbies, like when we lobby, we have to file a report that tells the state and the city who we lobbied and what we lobbied in regards to. The United Federation of Teachers literally lobbies against our legislation. Hold on. Let me see if I could find that again. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. Because we did videos on DC 37, the UFT, AFSCME, AFL-CIO. Yep, I did. Here's one. Let's see. Whoops. I did 2 videos on this in July. Nope, I did 3 videos on this in July. So copy link address. So here's the first video I did. Oh, that's not going to come out. Hold on a second. I need to public. Here we go. This is the first video that I did. This is the second video on it that I did. This one is on AFSCME, New York State, AFL, and DC 37. And this one is DC 37, AFL, AFSCME. I think the first one was UFT. Let me just go back and double check. So this is the third video where we literally look through all of the filings to determine who was lobbying against our legislation. And we showed who was. Now remember, UFT is AFL-CIO. And according to the AFL-CIO, when we spoke to them, we were told that the two largest unions in the city, being UFT and DC 37, wanted them to specifically lobby against the bill. We were also told by many people in the council that Bridget Rain, who works for the UFT as a political liaison, has been lobbying hard against Intro 1096. Go look at their filings. The same thing. So I can absolutely prove that. The UFT Welfare Fund sent me a letter and forms to keep my high option rider. That goes to OLR if I change forms, and another get reimbursement. If Marie is non-Medicare, they cannot split. Prime is replacing Humira pens with one of two biosimilars. Is that definite? Humira is great. Well, John, I can't tell you that because I'm not on that plan. And sometimes medication that works for you doesn't work for everybody else. CSA said that they can keep the rider for 7 something, but members need to be on it. Janet, can you write an email to the org explaining that in a little more detail, please? How is the litigation going and fundraising? I'm praying we have a chance for Intro 1096. I'm very ill and would be crushed without senior care plan. So right now there is no risk to senior care, but we're still working on 1096, and our belief is that it's not really going to go anywhere this year. We are probably going to bring that back in January, but we are going to push for the rest of this year to try to get it passed. If not, the goal is to bring both the city and the state bill back to introduce them both in January. You're welcome, Barry. Intro 948 will pass, but 1096, which we have been fighting for. I don't know what 948A is, Miriam. I have conflicting info about Prime Therapeutics, Amazon, and Express Scripts. I have asked RA and UFT to clarify without an answer. Prime will not give me the formulary until January 1. So GM35777, I don't know what your question is because you're not telling me. So if you either post it here and I see it, great. If you don't, what I do need you to do is email the organization so I know your question. Have we met our financial goal for the next case that will be heard? Ellen, I have been traveling all week and I have not looked at my email for like 3 days. So I can't tell you where we are with that, but then we are still going to keep fundraising to make sure that we still have the ability to run this organization. I've also heard on the same UFT ABC chat room that union bosses Mulgrew and Garrido are pushing for Councilmember Julie Menon for Speaker. I wouldn't be surprised since she's been touted by them as the gal who advocates for transparency. But yay for them, because she didn't even budge when city employees and non-Medicare retirees were faced with a heavily redacted NYC EPPO plan that got aggressively pushed by that duo. You know, you should write a letter to the editor to several papers. Write that letter and email it to several papers. That's a great statement. Called Express Script last night. Anyone on Express Script should inquire. of them if you can get a full 90-day subscription supply in December. If you call Prime and go over your meds with them, they will tell you if they are covering them or not. Sell Gracie Mansion. There's extra moolah for raises. You guys are a hoot tonight. AKA username. The unions are the ones that made it actives versus retirees, not retirees. Even fire needy heroes like Marianne or team. Hey, Tommy, how the hell are you? Sorry, I have a few emails. Which am I? So Merrill T, you're sending it to retirees at nycretirees.org. That's retirees with an S, RETIREES at nycretirees.org. The organization's email. Please discuss the difference between insurance via state-regulated carriers and an ASO plan. So you're going to make me talk about this for like an hour, Ellen. The law says the city will pay the full cost of health coverage up to the HIP HMO for every employee retiring their dependent. In 12-126, they define the difference between what is health coverage. Health coverage is contracts entered into by the city with insurance companies. An ASO agreement isn't that. And what they're moving to right now would be a self-funded plan, and an ASO is an administrative service agreement in which the insurance company administers the plan, the administrativeness of operating the plan, but they don't pay the bills. The city does. And then if the city ever goes above whatever benchmark there is, that the plan is guaranteeing them that they would never have to go over. If they do cross that line of medical expenses, then the insurance company would pay that as the ASO. And for them, they want to make sure that they're keeping the cost to the city under that cap, because if they do, then they get to keep the profit, that fee that they're charging the city to administer the administrative services throughout this insurance program. So if they don't, they have to give that fee back to the city. That reduces their profit. They're not going to want to do that. That's why we know, and even in the comptroller's office, they have the same concerns we do, that this plan will potentially, if it's not meeting its savings benchmarks of the $1 billion that the Municipal Labor Committee agreed to, they will impose more copays, more deductibles, and more prior authorizations to delay or deny care because they don't want to lose their profit. So in a state-regulated insurance plan, anytime an insurance company goes to raise a premium, it goes before DFS, Department of Financial Services. They say, 20% increase in premium. No, we're going to let you take 10. They don't, it's regulated. There's oversight. In an ASO plan, there's not. It's literally managed between the city, the MLC, and the insurance company. And those were all the three people that kind of screwed us for the last 4 years. Which is why I keep saying to people, why would you agree to a Medicare Advantage plan that's managed by the MLC, the same people that were trying to claw back your benefits? Traditional Medicare needs an act of Congress to change, and they can't get their own heads out of their asses. So I think you're pretty much safe to stay on the federal plan. Congrats to Marcia. She got a letter of support from Brooklyn 16. Yay, Marcia. No, I stupidly didn't get the name of the man who offered to help me. I'm sure we could figure out who he is. Don't worry about that. Prime Therapeutics will not give prices for my drugs until after January 1st, making decisions problematic. And I agree with you. That's a problem. That's definitely a problem. Yeah. Can you send me an email on that, please, that you made the call? I am getting your comments on Facebook. Yeah, there must have just been a glitch because my last one went through. Section G on the health benefit retiree application form. I will post the link later if I can. Is there a question in there? We retired teachers saw a pretty good slideshow about the D change developed by the UFT Welfare Fund. Why can't OLR do this for every city retiree? I don't know. I couldn't attend yesterday's UFT RTC general meeting, but I heard Bridget Rain was also present as part of the UFT political team. Seems our wonderful Councilman Marte as guest had something to do with this. What the hell did she think she would achieve? A hard glare at Councilman Marte. Oh, well, of course, because Bridget likes to believe in conspiracy theories, but maybe we can educate her a little bit better. I don't know. I'm sure we could try. Any retiree who has GHI Anthem Senior Care, no matter what union, can decouple and keep their 365 hospitalization benefit in 2026 while not having to stay on the New York City PDP plan in 26. So this is the issue we're fighting, and they're giving conflicting information about that to me personally. So they're saying that you can decouple it, but if you do, you have to do it for all of your dependents as well. Thanks for the radio show last Monday on BAI regarding long-term care, including the city's group MetLife policy. You're welcome, Ellen. And I will actually post that. I forgot to post it this week, but I will get to it this weekend. As you could tell, I'm still feeling not so 100%, and traveling didn't really make it any better. Isn't it suspicious that MA plans are advertising zero copays? Not really, because remember, they control your care. They make more money back than just your copays. How do you spell Bridget's last name? I think it's Rein. I think. She had ran for city council at one point. But she is employed by the UFT. Okay. Can retirees get a radio station? 109.6. That's very funny. But you do have me on 99.5 or whatever the hell we are on WBAI. So I canceled my COPE and sent you confirmation because the UFT replied. Mulgrew referred to COPE during the DA trying to again lie. Good. I'm glad you were successful. 940A is in favor of Airbnb. I typed incorrectly, therefore, but another person in this chat raised it. They are at every CB meeting too. I didn't know about that. I mean, I heard about an Airbnb issue, but I don't remember it. Will Marte reintroduce 1096 in January? Yes. Hi, Marianne. If you are satisfied with your current coverage, do you still need to review your plan? No. And depending on what plan you are on, Darren, you can, if you're on the GHI CBP plan, you will automatically be rolled into the NYC EPPO. And if you're happy with your current Medicare coverage, nothing right there is changing. What is the difference between preferred and participating in the NYC EPPO? So one has copays and one doesn't. Well, that's basically the difference. Remember, they're implementing tiered medical care, tiered copays. You have, if you're in the downstate 13, you have no copays if you go to ACPNY clinics and HHC. Then you have preferred participating or preferred, whatever the next one is on that chart, in network. And then the next one is technically out of network. And those people are not in the network. If it says, I think it says out of network or OON, they're not in the network. But if you look at the bottom, there's a little asterisk, and it says that they will only pay that provider up to the point of the Medicare rate, which leaves you with the huge coinsurance. So you have to know the difference. If you snapshot me what you're looking at, I will confirm that what you and I are both talking about the same thing. How can we help get Marte be the new speaker? Well, we've been doing the calls to the council speaker candidates, asking them where they are. We posted Marte in the newsletter. We've been giving you his 26 for 26, all of his 26 points. He has a website that he's of his platform that he's running for council speaker. We put that on our homework page. So those are the things that you should be checking out. If you're not on our website, you should go and register for our emails. That means you're not a donor, because you would be getting the emails with that information in it, and you're not on our Facebook page then. You need to be on our Facebook page, be on our email list, donate to the organization, because we've been posting about this. Marte is the only person so far with a campaign platform for speaker. And then we gave you talking points when you call the council with some of the things that you want to say that you think on his platform are important, and asking them where they stand. In addition, that other than just our healthcare issue. What percentage of retirees fall into poverty status? Mom Donnie says there's 1 out of 4 living out of poverty. I have no idea. But we still have, people that are in financial debt, and we also have active workers that are homeless. MBO changed dental, eyeglass, etc. to an ACO, and none of them ever. I don't know what that means. Oh, none of them ever have answers. Okay. That's a union plan. All my UFT folks out there, CSA has been providing way more information to their retirees than UFT. We probably need to get what the CSA has been putting out there and share that out. There is a survey up of our most important senior concerns. Nothing about healthcare, though there is mental health checking. So, but Faye, that's a given. I didn't need to add that there, because we already know your healthcare is a concern. That's the reason why we exist. I need to know what your other concerns are other than this. That presentation of Part D was not from the welfare fund. They did not show up. Another person put that presentation together. I spoke with labor relations for a change of drug plan. I had it with the Emblem Pharmacy. You have only until November 30th to do this. She was very helpful. Well, Ismael Cruz, you are probably the only person to tell me that OLR is helpful. Would like to see the long-term care program. I am not on Facebook. So they no longer offer it. If you're changing Part D but keeping 365 hospital, do you have to fill out Part A on the OLR form? The UFT welfare said leave it blank. Is that correct? So Eileen, I can't tell you because I don't have that form in front of me. But if you send me that question in an email to the org, I will remember to look at the form and answer you back. How about we each request an audit of the excessive $180 per person prescription drug plan premiums and who this amount was negotiated by and approved by the MLC? Yeah, you could do that. That's not a bad question to ask. What's the deadline to opt out of the Emblem drug plan? Well, it's supposed to be November 30th. Oh, tiered copays. Yep. I think we need to, and that's for the active workers and pre-Medicare retirees. I think we need to take a moment to say thanks to Mary Ann for her service. Oh, I love you guys. Is Amazon Pharmacy trustworthy reviews? Amazon is not a friendly union. He is not very union friendly, and I'm not sure I want to have Amazon to have my information. Is anyone else skeptical? And I've heard about that complaint a lot. I'm actually shocked that the unions moved to support a plan because, of course, they didn't have that in any rules that they couldn't use an anti-union company. But then again, what do I know? Thanks, Camille. You guys are crazy. Medicare doctors paid less than ever in 25 since Medicare began. It will be difficult to find good doctors. To help Marte, go to your local Democratic club and talk him up, then take it to your local council. Thank you, Carol. Okay, so I'm at the end of the questions. I want to end on this. Yesterday, we were at the Villages event where we met with a group of retired, mostly police and firefighters, who were talking to us about some issues. There was an issue that came up yesterday that a gentleman came up and said in the Villages health system that he was being told that they would no longer accept traditional Medicare and they would only accept Medicare Advantage. I said, no, that's never happens. All doctors want traditional Medicare. They don't want to only take Medicare Advantage. That's not possible. You've always heard me say 99% of doctors in America accept traditional Medicare. The 1% that don't are pediatricians and psychiatrists. Well, when they came up to me afterwards, we were looking at the website. I was horrified with what I saw. The Villages Health System in Florida has a website, and at the bottom of it, they have a link to connect you to insurance brokers to purchase Medicare Advantage plans. And they also, he conflated a couple different things with United Healthcare and the Medicare Advantage. I'll get to that in a moment. However, he was absolutely correct on that. So now when I say 99% of doctors in America accept traditional Medicare and the 1% that don't are psychiatrists and pediatricians, I now have to say the Villages Health. Why is that? Because the Villages Health is in bankruptcy. They committed Medicare fraud, and they owe the federal government about $350 million, most likely in fines, for upcoding and overcharging the government for procedures and diagnoses that didn't exist in their patients. The Villages healthcare system is one of the largest retiree systems in the country that treats a large portion of retirees, of which many of them are on Medicare Advantage. Why are they not going to offer traditional Medicare? I could probably surmise it is because they've committed Medicare fraud that they are not allowed to conduct fee-for-service for Medicare, that they're not supposed to, they cannot have a direct relationship with Medicare. So what did they do? Well, to get themselves out of bankruptcy, they partnered with an organization that appears to be a venture capitalist. And whenever I see these words, you also know me to get triggered and start to have facial tics. Offer value-based control of your managed care plan to try to make sure that you have a better outcome in your healthcare. So what did they do? They took the entire system and put it into Medicare Advantage, encouraging all the patients within the Villages health system to move over to Medicare Advantage. And I believe the reason that they can't, we have a couple of reporters now helping us look into this as of today, is because of that fraud. And there's a lawsuit against them. I believe it's with the DOJ. So for the first time ever, I can tell you that we've just found now a very large municipal company that will not accept traditional Medicare for services. Now, when we called up the Villages Health, if you are currently a patient in the Villages Health system with a traditional Medicare plan, they will continue to accept your traditional Medicare. However, if you are not yet a patient with the Villages Health in Florida, they will not accept your traditional Medicare. You will need to find a doctor outside the Villages Health system, which I strongly urge you to do, since they're probably going to have a lot more problems going forward. And the Villages Health is currently in Chapter 11 in bankruptcy court with a judge trying to determine how to help them get out of it. Right now, their concerns is going to be finances, not you. And if they're moving their system to entirely managed care, there's a reason why. And it's not because they're interested in your health outcomes. It's because they're more interested in their financial outcome. Sorry to tell you, that's what we learned after last night's conversation with this one retiree. The other thing we learned, and this is more disturbing. So, a large population of the people that were in that room were also under 65. They were very much looking forward to the NYC EPPO plan because they would have providers. However, one of the people, one of the companies that is owed a lot of money for from the Village's Health is United Healthcare. Based upon what we saw, they are still in negotiations, and that was confirmed today with the Village's Health Office, that they are still in negotiations with the Village's Health and United Healthcare are still in negotiations on trying to settle that contract. That contract expires December 31 of 2025. Based on what we saw on their website, it looks like it will be highly unlikely that they will renew that contract. And if that doesn't happen, what does that mean? That the pre-Medicare retirees currently living in the villages will not be able to use the village's health with the United Healthcare plan that is brought to them by the NYC EPPO. Karen, I was actually going to call you today because one of the deals that they were having was with USF, and I thought you were USF as well. I think it's USF. So this is what happened, what we learned about the Village's health system with Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and United Health. And this was literally all just brought to us yesterday. We never would have believed. Did the doctors commit fraud? Yes, the practice did. So what they were doing was upcoding. They would putting codes to diagnose patients of patients that they had no medical data to substantiate that happened. You've read about this in the paper quite frequently. Let me see if I could quickly pull up one of those articles that actually explains this. Okay. So this is a case summary from the Village's Health Chapter 11. The Village's Health has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy following the discovery of significant Medicare overpayment liabilities, supported by $39 million in DIP financing to facilitate a sale to CenterWell Senior Primary Care and ensure continuity of care for 55,000 patients. That tells you how many people are in the Village area. The Village Health System, TVH, or the company, is a healthcare provider operating as a network of primary and specialty care centers. The company was developed to offer high-quality care by reducing the physician-to-patient ratio, allowing for enhanced patient-provider interactions. That, to me, was my first trigger. What they're trying to do is say that the doctor needs more time with the patient, but Medicare already provides that you can have visits depending upon how many minutes, like if they're 10 to 15 minute visits, or they have to be 16 to 25 minutes, or from 26 minutes to 45 minutes. Like there's already diagnoses codes for that for billing purposes. What they were trying to do was upcode and tell Medicare that all of these patients needed to have more time with the patient. Its services are targeted at residents of the Villages, a large 55-plus master plan community and surrounding areas. In addition to primary care, TVH offers a range of specialty medical services, including cardiology, neurology, rheumatology, podiatry, gynecology, pain management through 10 clinic locations, 8 primary, and 2 specialty care. The Village's Health System filed for Chapter 11 on July 3rd of 2025 in bankruptcy court in Middle District of Florida, reporting assets of $50 million to $100 million and liabilities of between $100 million and $500 million, the latter of which is dominated by a substantial contingent claim by the U.S. government. TVH was established in 2012 through a collaboration of the Villages and the University of South Florida. The partnership aimed to deliver high-quality care by enhancing patient resources, reducing physician-to-patient ratios, and increasing access to primary care and specialty providers. So it also goes to explain that, let's see, here's the other trigger words. The company does not own any hospitals and instead coordinates inpatient care through a partnership of UF Health. Its asset-light strategy relies on leasing clinic facilities and most major medical equipment, which allows it to focus resources on the clinical team. Their operations are aligned with a value-based framework, trigger words, primarily serving its 55,000 patients through capitated Medicare Advantage plans. This is so that they can control the profit, control who you see. You stick with primary care. You cannot just go to a specialist if you want to. You must go to their primary physicians. Under this model, TVH receives a fixed monthly payment per patient to manage their overall health, incentivizing preventive care and chronic disease management to reduce costly hospitalization. But what was happening was these patients were getting sick and they weren't managing their care. So they filed Chapter 11 was driven by the discovery of significant historical medical billing irregularities, which occurred in the midst of a strategic sale process. In 2022, TVH retained Evercore Group, and you've heard about Evercore because they do prior authorization approvals, even in the Emblem plan and the United plan and the Aetna plan. A formal marketing process was launched in September targeting buyers experienced in value-based, senior-focused primary care. So they started overbilling, and they then had to claim that they were overbilling the federal government. And that's when the government said, we're looking at you, and found that they overbilled them. They call it, the company then entered into a $50 million all-cash stalking horse APA with CenterWell Primary Care, known as Vitality, and the proposed transaction is designed to preserve their operations for their patients. So that's why they moved to a Medicare Advantage plan only model, because they get these capitated rates, which you've heard us talk about in the beginning, which are like $1,500 or $2,000 a person a month. And if they limit the care that you get, they get to keep the rest of that money as profit. So this is what they did. And they found these millions of dollars of them upcoding billing that they could not substantiate medical records to support. And under that, the federal government moved in and said that they believed they committed a crime, and the sale fell through, and they ended up going into bankruptcy. So this exposes then what happened with this company. By April of 24, CenterWell Primary Care, a subsidiary of Humana, emerged as a leader suitor and signed a non-binding term sheet for stock prices. The transaction was abruptly halted mid-24 when the management uncovered significant issues with its historical Medicare risk adjustment coding practices. An internal investigation supported by Goodwin Procter and FTI Consulting revealed that retrospective chart review programs initiated around 2020 was inconsistent with Medicare guidelines. The program resulted in submissions of unsupported hierarchical condition category codes, or they were billing codes to make it in human language, which improperly inflated patient risk adjustment scores and consequently the capitated payments that they receive from Medicare Advantage plans. What does that mean? That they would say, remember, we keep telling you, for those of you that are on Medicare Advantage, Don't allow the insurance company to come to your house. Don't let them call you about they want to come for a healthy home visit and they're going to give you a debit card if you do. Don't do it. They're looking to upcode. And that's exactly what this company did. So they're going to go, oh, I was at Marianne's house this week. And all of a sudden, she's telling me about this history that she had and all of these problems. She's a bigger risk to us, Medicare. We're going to need more money. And so they would go back and report that you had all of these medical problems that you didn't, or maybe you did in your past, but not currently. That's fraud called upcoding. And Medicare was giving TVH more money on a monthly basis for for these patients. Is the Village's case a key TAM case? Would love to encourage whistleblower. Ellen, I'm going to send you some of these. There's the press release, and I think I'd have to go up on the DOJ website to see if this is a full-blown key TAM. I don't know the answer to that, but we're having our legal team look through this next week, and I will let you know and keep you posted. I will tell you, we are also looking into other issues with whistleblower cases where we have retirees that were getting braces, like knee braces, arm braces, ankle braces, elbow braces, whatever, sent to their house, like by dozens of them repeatedly. And this was a fraud that was being committed. We had another retiree that was also getting COVID tests that were being charged to Medicare and shipped to their house. And they kept showing up from China. And she kept saying, I didn't purchase these COVID cases. They were being billed to her Medicare. She reported this. Medicare didn't do a damn thing about it. And this was Medicare fraud. So I don't know how to tell you that. By the way, the UFT reps that allegedly help with the retirement process do not return emails or phone calls. They're too good to return calls and emails. I'm sorry you're having that issue as well. My mouth is dropping. I'm in Florida, but nowhere near there and no people there. Janet, this was absolutely horrific to find out. I literally thought this guy was more confused than anything, because what he was saying doesn't make sense. No doctor would turn down original Medicare. None. I mean, the few that do, we keep saying, you hear me say, are pediatricians and psychiatrists. And that's because they're either more specialty care. Mostly you don't have pediatricians treating geriatric, but psychiatrists also have a higher rate and they don't want to go through insurance. But this was a major ugly. And when we looked into it, I immediately called Dominic Orlando, who runs that organization down that we visited, Bob and I, and explained to him they're going to have a lot of problems, that their members are going to end up having to look outside the Village's health system to get providers. They cannot use their healthcare plan there. And then, of course, United not having a deal in place, and their contract ends December 31st. For the pre-65, that's going to be a problem. Wouldn't a federal judge need to approve a Chapter 11 restructuring plan? I leave that to the lawyers in the group. But yes, and right now, this decision to sell this group to this venture capitalist with this marketing plan is currently what they're reviewing. I think I want to get involved in that. So that's the ask of our legal team, is like, I think we need to put our 2 cents in here to advise them that they should not be doing this. We're also looking into, is it legal that they do that? Because Medicare, CMS, Medicare, Medicaid Act was passed for very specific reasons that were covered under civil rights. So I want to make sure that we're looking at all of those things as well. So, all right, guys. So we're about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Thank you, Janice. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. But I'll see you guys next week. Don't worry. And so I want to wish you all a happy weekend. Have a really good time. I'm going to take some time off these next couple of days to try to clear this up and focus on a few things that I want to. I literally just got home today, so I am exhausted, and I'm going to call it a night. But thanks for listening. I know that there were a bunch. I don't see any more questions. If you guys do have questions, especially about this plan or your drug plan, whatever, please, please email the organization. Bob is really good at going through the emails and answering you and getting the answer. And sometimes he and I both do them together. So hang in there. Please respond back to us next week. The lawyers are aware that you're not getting the answers that you need to have to figure all of this out. And hopefully, we can probably get some answers when they get involved. So you'll see me before Thanksgiving. Don't worry. We'll come up and chat with you before we close the page down for the holiday. But I will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Hopefully I answered all of your questions. And take some time off to enjoy yourself. Love ya. Ciao.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life we know you can't pretend. The days pass by, maybe set in stone, but it's not too late now for you to change your tone.